The Department of Public Health and Human Services is pleased to bring you Aging Horizons. Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security, fraud, legal issues, veterans benefits, and caregiving. Aging Horizons is a program dedicated to inform and prepare Montanans on these timely issues, making a difference to you and your loved ones. Here now is today's program host.
Welcome to Aging Horizons. On today's show, we'll be talking about the Montana Telecommunications Access Program, which is a program that's available to individuals age 5 and up who are either deaf, they have speech problems, or they have mobility problems, and they need to communicate over the telephone. We have the program, we have the devices, and we have the people here today on Aging Horizons who can explain it to you, and maybe you need it, and maybe a family member needs it. Great info. Stay tuned.
Montana veterans, your independence matters. The freedom to age with dignity, how and where you want, for as long as possible. Please help us improve long-term veteran care in Montana by taking a short online survey. Go to veteransurvey.mt.gov. Your long-term independence is our priority. Go to veteransurvey.mt.gov and help us get it right, Montana. This message brought to you by DPHHS, the Montana Veteran Affairs Division, and this station.
Can you say ombudsman?
Bidsman.
Benson?
Uma Doodlesman? Fortunately, you don't have to say it right to get the help of a long-term care ombudsman. If you or a loved one reside in assisted living or long-term care, an ombudsman can help resolve any issue. And these services are completely free and confidential. Now, why don't you try that again?
Ombudsman.
Did you just text me?
I didn't want to disturb you if you were sleeping.
Sleeping? I'm sitting right next to you, silly.
There you are. Hey, I found a couple of Medicare helping programs online that I think we ought to look into.
It says if we qualify, we can get help paying for our prescription drugs. Oh, and there's a program that can help pay our Part B premium.
To learn more about extra help and Medicare savings programs, call your local SHIP counselor today.
Maybe I better text him.
You've probably seen some big-name celebrities on your TV lately talking about all the Medicare benefits you're missing out on. But the insurance companies who are paying for these ads may be pushing benefits not available in Montana. Fortunately, help is available from a friendly state health insurance assistance program counselor who can help you sort it all out. It's free, and we screen everyone for eligibility regardless of your zip code. It's Montanans helping Montanans. Call today. Hi folks, welcome to Aging Horizons, which is brought to you by the Department of Public Health and Human Services Senior and Long-Term Care Division. I'm your host, Brian Lamore. I mentioned a bit earlier, we're talking about the Montana Telecommunications Access Program, and this is a program through the state of Montana where they serve over 1,500 individuals, and they're looking for more that may have speech, mobility, or that could be deaf, and they need to use a telephone. There's a variety of reasons why they get to this situation, but we all know how much we use a telephone, and what would it be like if we could not use one? So we've got some wonderful guests today. We've got the head of the Montana Telecommunications Access Program, the director, Mary Taylor, and Mike Bouchard. Bouchard, you're the communications tech with them. Welcome to the show. It's great to have you here.
Thank you. We're glad to be here.
Great. Well, Mary, let's start with you. You know, a lot of people take for granted, I would say, our ability to use a telephone. And the telephone really needs, if you're deaf, you might not be able to use it if you have speech problems or if you have mobility. But how do people come across these limitations in which they cannot use a phone? I mean, you serve people from 5 on up, so it's quite the range.
Well, there's a number of things. First of all, you could be born with something that keeps you from using the phone, speech issue or hearing or mobility challenge. But probably the majority of the people that we serve are people that they might have been involved in a car accident or something that caused something to happen that makes them unable to use the phone. Or perhaps, which is probably more often the case, it just happens later in life that things happen and you start losing your hearing or you start losing, the abilities to do different things with your hands and stuff like that. So I would say probably the majority of the time it's just something that happens over time in people's lives that Sometimes they don't even notice it themselves. Sometimes their family member says, you need to check into this and find out because you're not hearing me on the phone. And that is actually probably the majority of the people that we serve are people that that happens to. But I mean, like you said, it could be a plethora of things that cause them to need a service such as ours.
Well, do you find that that's the individuals that contact you, maybe their loved ones, or maybe a healthcare professional that contacts you to get their services?
Well, and again, I think a lot of times it's a family member. We do a lot of outreach events that we try to make sure the word is spread across the state. And we only have a staff of 4 people, so sometimes that's a little difficult to do. We do some advertising, but I do think that the majority of the people find out through a family member, or perhaps they see a television commercial that we might have aired on TV.
Well, that's great. So what is the mission of the Montana Telecommunications Access Program, and then how do you accomplish that mission?
Well, our purpose is really just, we have a mission statement to improve the quality of life for all Montanans through education, innovation, and technology by enhancing communications options. And really what that means is if anybody has something, a challenge in their life, with speech, with vision, with mobility, that keeps them from using the phone, we want to make sure that there's equal access to communication for every Montanan. And so that is really our mission for our program, and we do that through our relay program. So some people may know about the 711 that you can dial to make a relay phone call. So our program contracts for relay services in the state of Montana so that there is access to communication 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
Could you tell us what relay is?
Yes, so relay really is another person involved in a phone call. So if you wanted to call me and I was deaf, you could call relay 711. You could tell them what my phone number was, and there would be a communication assistant on the line that would call me, and they would whatever you said, whatever you spoke to me, they would type that up so that I could read it on whatever device I'm using. And then I would type that back and say, well, hi, how are you doing? And then they would see what I wrote, and they would say it in vocally to you back what I said, and then they would just communicate back and forth. So those kind of calls do take a little bit more time, but that's how relay works. It's a third person involved in the call to just ensure that people who may not be able to speak or are deaf, that they can communicate with the public. Yeah,
and to have access to the cell phone and be able to do that is wonderful. Now, I remember in the past, I think on our phone bills, there's a minimal charge to help fund this project?
There is, yes. We are funded by a special revenue, so there is a 10-cent fee that goes towards our program to ensure that we can offer relay in Montana. And the other big thing that we do is we offer communication devices that are specialized for people that might need a special piece of equipment in order to make that phone call.
Yeah, that's right. We've got some great phones here, and we're going to kind of go into them more in the next segment. But to find out more about this, we have a telephone number and a website on the screen, and if they were to call that number, they call into Helena, right? And then what happens from there?
Yes, they would call into our 800 number, and then they would just say that they want assistance, with our program, and then we would give them the information on how to apply. They could apply right through our website. They could go on our website, download an application, or we could just mail them an application if they feel more comfortable with that.
And it's a pretty simple application, because I put one in for my uncle a long time ago.
Yeah.
It's not that difficult, is it?
No, not at all. And once you do that, we usually have a turnaround that's pretty quick. Usually about in a week or two, we would probably get in contact with them, let them know whether or not they qualified. And then one of our technicians would meet with them and take them, go right into their home and assess what their needs are, recommend the phone that might work for them, set up the phone, test the phone, and train on the phone. So we do a lot.
And you'll provide the phone if they meet certain conditions, right? And if they don't, they can access the phone with their own funds, right?
That is correct, yes.
That's great. Well, we're drawing to a quick close on our first segment. We'll be looking at these phones next. They're pretty amazing. But for our viewers, there are about 79,000 hearing impaired individuals in Montana. And there's new ones coming along all the time. Many times a loved one is saying, you need to get a hearing aid, you need to check these things out. Or if you find someone who's not using the phone because it just doesn't work for them anymore, well, you've got some solutions. And we'll be talking about that in our next segment with Montana Telecommunications Access Program. Stay tuned.
Respite care is amazing. If you are capable of doing it, the rewards are beyond measure.
Stephanie Young, respite care provider, on the unexpected benefits of helping people in need.
Being a respite care provider is an amazing experience. It's something that what you give, you get back 100-fold. You receive so much more than you could ever imagine.
To find out how to change lives, including your own, go to respite.mt.gov.
I think the most pleasant surprise when we turned 65 and signed up for Medicare Part B was finding out about our Welcome to Medicare preventive visit.
It was free, and it gave us the opportunity to visit with our doctors and establish a plan for our health going forward.
They reviewed our medical history, measured our height, weight, blood pressure, and counseled us on other risk factors.
To learn more about Medicare's free or low-cost preventive and wellness benefits, call your local SHIP counselor at 800-551-3191. I mentioned it's free, right?
Twice.
This is Bill. He just received his new Medicare card and is following some simple rules to protect himself from fraud. He knows to never give out his Medicare, Social Security, or bank number over the phone. And this is Nancy. She knows that to detect any problems, she always reads her Medicare Summary Notice or Medicare Advantage EOB to make sure the billing is correct. Both Bill and Nancy know that anything suspicious can be reported to Montana SMP at 1-800-551-3191.
Welcome back to Aging Horizons. I'm your host, Brian Lamore, and we're continuing our discussion about the Montana Telecommunications Access Program. There's over 78,000 Montanans who are hearing impaired, and sometimes their use of the telephone just doesn't work out for them. But we have a program here for them, and the average age is someone who's 70 to 80, but they're as young as 5 that can be eligible for this program. Rejoining us is the director of the Montana Telecommunications Access Program, Mary Taylor, and Mike Bouchard, you're the communications tech. And Mary, you get a call in or you get an application. Someone is inquiring about the program. What's the next step that the program does to help meet their needs?
Yeah, so once they've filled out the application, we will be in touch with them. We usually send a letter out, but also once we find out that they're eligible and they meet the eligibility requirements, usually the tech that gets assigned to them will make the phone call to them. Sometimes if they don't have a phone or if there's somebody else that they need to reach out to, they'll reach out to them, and then we'll set up a time to come out to their house, and they'll talk to them a little bit about what their needs are and assess what their needs are, and then they'll determine which piece of equipment would be best for them. And at that point they would set that equipment up, test it, train on it, and such.
Make sure they know how to use it, and then, then the fun begins.
Exactly. So we have Mike that works with us, and he covers the eastern side of the state, and he works out of Billings. And then we have Jeff Haley, who covers the western side of the state, and he works out of Missoula. But we cover the entire state, and I cover the Helena area.
Oh, that's great. Well, Mike, let's start with you. You're a communications tech, and you go into the home and meet with the people, and maybe their loved ones who might have referred them. And you have a variety of phones. I guess first, how do you assess what kind of phone they need?
Well, we go in, like I said, we'll meet with the family members, our client, and a lot of it's just getting a feel for their environment, what they're capable of. In some cases, we might have vision disabilities along with the hearing loss. So we have to, gear what we're going to loan out to them based on, the situation at the time. So yeah, it does change. These 3 devices are probably our most distributed that we'll give out to folks, and they'll cover the whole range of things we might come across. For instance, vision loss. This is our just plain, easy as we can get, analog line telephone. It's got the big buttons for vision, 50 dB amplification for hearing loss, up to. It's got a ringer that'll go over 100 dB, so it will get noticed, and along with that, you see the LED here, it'll flash. Because even in some cases with these devices being amplified and very loud, it's still difficult. So any of them have a built-in flasher. For instance, if you have mobility issues, it's difficult to even dial the phone, along with the hearing loss. We've got speed dials that are on these devices that we can program to help them out. These devices will also let you dial before going off hook. to make the phone call, so that gives some of our older folks a little more time to get the number inputted.
Yeah.
So that's helpful. You've got the control for volume. Some cases there's a tone control there. Depending on the hearing loss, you may have to adjust it to higher frequencies or lower to help boost what's left of your hearing.
Yeah.
So it's got a nice little display. These keys are all backlit. The other thing that helps our folks too, especially more with the vision loss, is these will talk to you. We can turn that feature on, so each key you push, it's going to let you know what you're pushing along with what you can see there. Right. And then folks that might be more mobile, I guess you could say, we might go with something with, you know, a cordless option like this. The other nice thing with this cordless option, it's also got a built-in answering machine. This device does not. They need an answering machine. They may have to go with a separate device or use Spectrum or CenturyLinks.
Yeah.
It has built-in 1 through 9 for speed dials on this phone. So of course, more than this one. Amplification, again, 50 dB, over 100 dB for the ringer. This one will flash here and here, so it definitely gets your notice. Both phones, again, that may help in certain hearing loss cases. They may need to use a speakerphone instead, and for some folks that's just easier because it comes into both hearing aids if they have them, or not, you know, whichever ear still has some hearing to it, so that'll help with that. Volume control for that. On this one, there's a slow talk feature. So in some cases, some of our older folks, or, you know, depending on what's going on, it's difficult for them to understand a lot of the younger kids, you know. They speak very fast. This will help to a certain point. It will slow that speech down a little bit. So.
And this one with the big screen looks interesting.
Yes, this is pretty much your severe to profound hearing loss. There's a lot of cases where this might be the best fit. This is your caption phone. So similar to your captions on TV, when you get a caption or a phone call coming in, this phone with an internet connection will caption what's being said to you right across the display. That's adjustable. This one doesn't go quite as loud as these two, just due to the fact you're going to have captions with it, and your hearing loss is already such that loud isn't going to help pretty much at that point. 3 speed dials. Again, it's got a built-in flasher. A lot of times it's up on the top on these. Volume control. Built-in voicemail. So answering machine. It will caption that also. So for folks, you know, that like on this one, they might be able to hear fine on the phone, but the voicemail, they can't understand. It just doesn't go loud enough. This one will caption any voicemail calls and that sort of stuff for them. It's a great phone. Like I said, it's usually more for folks that are more severe hearing loss.
Great. Well, we've quickly drawn to a close on the second segment. In our next segment, we'll talk more about eligibility and maybe a little bit more on how these work. But what's important is how you can access them for yourself, for a loved one, or someone else you know. So stay tuned. Perhaps our regular viewers have noticed that we've been missing a host for the last several months. In July, our favorite person, Kimmy Everman, unexpectedly passed away, and we'd like to take a few moments now to share some memories that we have of her.
For many of us, watching Aging Horizons with Kimmy on as the host was like talking to a friend, and for Kimmy, that's exactly what it was. She cared about all of the viewers of Montana on Aging Horizons as if they were her personal friends. She wanted each of us to live the best possible life and connect to as many services as possible. She had no greater joy in life than connecting advocates to others that could help Montanans across the state with problems that they maybe didn't know as much about. Losing Kimmy was a great loss to the state of Montana, but the work that she did will live on in the hearts and minds and Rolodexes of so many of us at the state.
So working with Kimmy was always a very fun experience for me. She lit up a room with her smile, and I loved her giggle. She had this giggle that was the cutest, most happiest spreading of joy that I could describe. She also was very passionate about her work, about helping veterans, and about her dog, Sophie.
Kimmy's been my friend, my coworker, and my mentor for over 20 years. She has taught me so much about not only Medicare, but working with people. She had a great sense of compassion and love, especially for veterans, animals, and the underdog. She loved working with seniors and people with disabilities. That was her heart. She will be greatly missed.
Aging Horizons has been on the air for over 30 years, and I've had the pleasure of working with these wonderful ladies and everybody in senior long-term care that length of time, including Kimmy Everman. And whenever we got done with the show, I just loved her laughter, which everybody's commented here. It was like we're getting away with something. Isn't this fun? And I will sincerely miss both that and her. Welcome back to Aging Horizons. I'm your host, Brian Lamore, and continuing our discussion about the Montana Telecommunications Access Program and some of the solutions they have if you are hearing impaired, you're deaf, or mobility or speech impaired. Now, we're rejoining us is Mike, and we just talked about these 3 wonderful phones, but there's a requirement for the phones for them to work. What is that?
Yes, there is. So all 3 phones require a landline, obviously, to get the phone call from your loved ones or folks out in the community. The caption phones, above and beyond the landline, also need an internet connection. That's what the captions come across, is the internet piece of that. So whether it's Wi-Fi or a direct Ethernet connection,
you need the internet.
We're good with that.
Okay. Yep. Well, now, the MTAP does so much more than just like our phones here. There's devices that are specifically designed for physical impairments, possibly, and you help individuals with those. What are some of them?
Some of those, correct. We can do things like electrolarynxes. Maybe you can hear the phone fine, but for whatever reason, you can no longer speak through the phone or have difficulties with that. You can either use a relay service, or in the case with us, we can loan you an electrolarynx. A little more requirements with that. We'll work with like a speech language pathologist or something to make sure you get the proper setup and training.
Right.
Cell phones, for just our normal hard of hearing folks, we can loan out maybe a jitterbug, smart, or flip device. If we get a little more in depth beyond that, we can go into iPhone and iPad type devices, which again are further requirements for us to loan you those devices.
Well, I'm just thinking back to some of our other programs. Sometimes, let's say someone's paralyzed and they don't have use of their hands. Do we have devices for those individuals so they can communicate?
We do. Yes and no on that one. A lot of it this day and age is more just our smartphones. And we're getting into apps for that, Google, Hey Google, Hey Siri, that sort of thing. We do have one phone in particular cases that we can hook up to, say, a puffer switch. Again, they can use their voice to it. Unfortunately, we're not seeing that sort of technology being produced anymore. Everything is going to the smartphones.
Well, that's the future, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
Well, now, Mary, let's go with you. Let's talk about some of the eligibility requirements, even if we've already mentioned them, because people are saying, I like these devices, but now, what are the details?
Yes, one of the things I wanted to mention is that when we do loan the phones, it's a free loan. So don't worry about the cost. There's no cost. We own the phone, but you can keep it as long as you need it. Some of the requirements is to be a Montana resident. You need to be at least 5 years old or older. And you need to have a need for the phone, a disability that keeps you from using the phone, and then, of course, the ability to use the phone. And then in addition to that, there is an income requirement, but it's a pretty generous one. It's based on 250% of the federal poverty level. So, for example, a person with a one-person household, it would be around $34,000, and then it would go up $11,000 for every additional person in that household. And I did want to mention, too, that even though we do have these requirements, we do encourage anybody with a challenge that meets the specifications of our program. To apply for assistance, because even if you don't qualify, we do want to make sure that everybody in Montana has equal access to phone communication. So we can still go out and do an assessment. We can point you in the right direction for where to purchase a phone. And in some cases, especially like the CapTel phone here, you can even get it for free without getting it through our program. So I just wanted to mention that.
What's important is that you're the solution.
Yes,
You got a question, call them up. They'll get you the right device. If you pay for it, that's great. If maybe they can pay for it, you'll make sure it works. Now, a little bit early in the conversation here, you said you had to be a Montana resident, but this program is not unique to Montana, that Montanans can only talk to Montanans anymore. Our kids are all over the nation. I'm sure this is in other states, right?
It is, yes. There's programs in every state. So if you call us, we can direct you in the right direction to where to go for that.
For your state, okay.
Or, yes.
And then, of course, you got your device here. You can call your friend in the other state.
Exactly.
Now, the relay service, that is really interesting. Is that located in Montana, or is that kind of nationally located?
So we contract for relay services through a company called Hamilton Relay. They're not in Montana, but they service 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And I wanted to mention one other thing before we go, is that we are offering free relay training. So we call it Relay Friendly Business Training, and you might see a commercial about that on TV, but definitely any businesses that are unaware of how to use Relay or would like to learn more. It's a 1-hour webinar. We're doing one in June, and we're also doing one in October. We do them twice a year. They're online, so just 1 hour of training, and then there's a follow-up phone call, test phone call for Relay. And we really encourage people to take that training to understand how to use Relay so that they can really work with every Montanan that wants to make a phone call. And we do have 15 Relay certified relay-friendly businesses in Montana. If you're interested in what those are, you can go out to our website, montanarelay.mt.gov, and see who those businesses are.
Yeah, and I imagine our state agencies are relay-friendly also, too, right?
There are a number of agencies that have signed up for that training, yes.
And they've got that training. So, again, it's pretty simple to access your programs. Call the telephone number, and you'll evaluate them. And does it have to be the person saying, I can't hear, or could it be loved ones that call you?
No, it can be a loved one, and a lot of times we do have loved ones calling for them. So,
and then you know how to then work with the loved ones that need the service, because they're saying, what? Probably saying,
exactly.
Okay, well, we've drawn to a close on the show so quickly. I'd like to thank you both for your service to Montanans. It's wonderful that we have programs like this, but it's wonderful we have people that are staffing those programs and helping out our fellow Montanans. It's great.
Yeah, we love our jobs, and we thank you for letting us come and tell about our program.
Of course. And for a quick recap with our viewers, the Montana Telecommunications Access Program wants individuals to be able to use their phones. And if you are deaf, you have speech or mobility impairments, that's the target audience. And they've got devices, they've got assistance. If the program can't help you, maybe there's other solutions. They have them. Give them a call. Thank you for joining us.
Special thanks to the Department of Public Health and Human Services for their continued support. Hosts on Aging Horizons are program specialists at the Montana Office on Aging. Production facilities provided by Video Express Productions. For more information about Aging Horizons, call the Department of Public Health and Human Services toll-free at 800-332-2272.